Well, welcome to another episode of Get Celebritized. I'm your host, Aurea McGarry, and if you listen, you watch the show anytime, day or night, that my mantra is to help you earn more so you can live more, live big, live vivaciously, live on purpose, and so you can give back more to your favorite causes and charities that need you. So without any further ado, today I have a very special guest, none other than the amazing, the fabulous 2023's America's Top Speaker Award from the producers Grant Cardone and Pete Vargas, and so many other things, Glenn Lundy. Glenn Lundy went from 2005 being hopeless, homeless, and contemplating ending it all to being an amazing car dealership extraordinaire, breaking records, helping others break records, to having a beautiful wife, 8 amazing children, the founder of Breakfast of Champions, which has over almost 200,000 members. He also has over 104,000 followers on Clubhouse. The list goes on and on and on. This man has broken records. This man has faith. This man is a world changer. Yeah, he is. And he's going to come on and tell you how he went from down and out to turning his life around and helping others turn their lives around with the passion that he has. So Glenn Lundy, get up here. Here you are.
I am here and honored to be here. Thank you so much. This is awesome.
Oh, Glenn, I am so glad you're here because, I've been part of your Breakfast of Champions and now with Ramon Ray and Dora Marie and everyone. We're such a big family. And to have the founder on my show right now, Glenn, you have such a big heart. And that's one thing that I just admire so much about you. You live big, you dream big, you have accomplished big, but your heart is even bigger. And we see it in everything you do. So before we get into everything you've done now, tell us a little bit about what it was like in 2005, because I want people to really have hope. That's what this show is all about, giving them hope, Glenn.
So I had just, Ray, I just appreciate you having me on here, but I had reached a point, in my life at that point, I call it kind of 2 seasons. So I was living a season of life where I was living 2-dimensionally. So mind and body, right? Mind and body. And I didn't believe there was a spiritual aspect to us as human beings. I had a very Darwinistic approach on life. And so I was living in that season, and I just reached a point where I was homeless for a little while. And homelessness, the worst part about homelessness is not that you don't have money or food or a place to live. The worst part about homelessness is that you become invisible. People won't make eye contact with you. And over time, you start to blend in. You're like a bench, a tree, a shrub, a portrait on the wall. And so people will look above you, below you, to the left of you, to the right of you, but they'll never make eye contact with you. And, I hear my kids sometimes say they're the biggest superpower. If they could have the superpower, they'd love to be invisible. And I'm like, man, trust me, that's not, you don't want to be in a place where you feel like no one sees you, right? And
Why do you think that is, Glenn? I know people want to be seen. Why do you think it is that we don't make eye contact? I was raised in New York City, so I remember just homeless everywhere.
Yeah.
And now that I help them, it's a whole different ballgame than when I lived there. And you're right, that eye contact. Why do you think that is?
I think that a lot of people, it's uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable situation, right? And I think that there are some fears associated with someone who's homeless. They might mug you, or they're going to ask you for money, right? And then you get put in that somewhat awkward position because part of you says, yes, I know I should help them. And the other part of you says, well, they're just going to take this money and go do whatever with it, right? And I can't help everybody, so why should I help anybody? And it just really causes, I think, a lot of conflict for people. It's an uncomfortable thing. I think everyone has big hearts and they want to connect, but I think it's just uncomfortable. And so eye contact leads typically to engagement between humans, right? So we don't make eye contact if we don't want to engage. And so people just look around, right? Like they'll
Especially if they can't help and they don't know what to do.
Right. They don't
So,
know what to do, right? And so for me, on the other end of it, when you become invisible like that, every day starts to become the same. Everything kind of starts to blur together. No one ever says your name. And it becomes very, homelessness becomes hopelessness. And that hopelessness quickly led, for me, the hopelessness led to depression. And then the depression led to suicidal thoughts. And then suicidal thoughts led to an attempt all my whole life. I tried to drown myself in the Pacific Ocean, just off the coast of La Jolla, California. But luckily for me, I'm a terrible swimmer. And that actually worked in my favor, because when I swam out as far as I could and was ready to end my life, the tide was actually coming in at the same time, and I ended up getting pushed back to shore. I like to say God plucked me out of the ocean, and in that moment, I remember clearly laying on the beach, looking up at the stars, realizing how expansive the universe was. And for the first time, I heard God, which I use the word heard loosely because it wasn't an audible hearing on the outside of my ear. It was more of an internal hearing. But I heard God say these words. He said, "You take yourself wherever you go." And I had heard those words before from a mentor of mine, but I was too young and dumb to really know what the heck he meant. He used to say it all the time, "Glenn, you take yourself wherever you go." I'm like, what the heck you mean? I don't even know what that means. You're speaking like in riddles. Like, get the heck out of here, right? But I understood in that time what that meant, because I started to look at my life, and I had lived in a lot of different cities. I had a lot of different circles of friends. I had had multiple jobs, right? But the results kept being the same in my life. I kept ending up arrested. I kept ending up drunk. I kept ending up in bed with people I didn't want to be in bed with. Like, I kept ending up in all these circumstances. And so it hit me. Oh, I get it. The cities change, the people change, the environment changes. I'm the constant, right? You take yourself wherever you go. And so that really unlocked something in my brain. My brain said, okay, if I'm the catalyst of all things negative in my life, does that mean I can be a catalyst for good things in my life?
Switch it up.
And so prior to that, I didn't realize that I was a creator. I thought I was just,
Victim.
flesh and bone and a victim to everything that was going on in the world. But once I realized I was an actual creator, there was a series of mistakes, along the way to get to here. Of course, it wasn't just overnight, but shifting that perspective, I was able to start pointing my intentions and attention on positive things for me and the people around me. And I started living what I call a 3D life, what most of us know as mind, body, and spirit, right? So prior, it was, if it looks good and it feels good, the answer is yes, which led to drinking and drugs and all the things. Now it was, if it looks good and it feels good and it is good, the answer is yes. And that third dynamic has been tremendous shift for me in my life ever since.
It's such a profound thing what you just said, Glenn, when you're saying, you're the constant. And so many people we know, because we all teach on coaching and how to get results. And if you keep doing the same things, you keep getting the same results, you just take it a step further. But because that was from God, for sure, that we are the constant, and stop repeating old mistakes or old mindsets. And this is really relevant now, Glenn, more than ever, because of the pandemic. I deal with so many people that are still trying to make different decisions, get out of a rut. So many were turned upside down for no fault of their own. Maybe their job has been done away with, or for whatever. And they're used to making same decisions that aren't getting them anywhere now in this new age, should I say. So what was one of the big decisions you did differently now that you had that aha moment? I know it's not from, okay, now everything's just fine. Yeah. What were some of the biggest decisions that you did that started making that shift to different results happening? Because that's a big deal.
Yeah. So, once there was a light switch moment. Now, the results were not light switch, But in that moment, once I realized that we have the power to create and that we are the catalyst of the results in our life, that the curious side of me was unlocked. So I needed to know, well, why is that? How do we have that ability? Where does that ability come from, right? And I learned long ago that if you want to learn more about yourself, you got to go back in time, right? You got to look at your ancestors. And so I started, just kind of doing research on like, well, where do I come from? Well, that research led me to the religious side of things, right? I started studying Buddhism and Catholicism. I studied Scientology for 6 months. I explored that, right? And I just started exploring all these things, trying to understand, like, who am I and where does this power come from?
Getting that third dimension in there.
Yeah, like, where is this, and that led me ultimately to the life and the story of Jesus Christ. And I found my spiritual connection to God through Christianity. I'm so incredibly grateful for that, and through Jesus himself. And so really it was a series of research trying to figure out where this spiritual nature of us, comes from. And what I found is really interesting. When you jump in a pool, I don't know if you knew this or not, Aurea, but when you jump in a swimming pool, you get wet every time. It's amazing. It's amazing. And when you start going on a spiritual journey, you get inundated with the spirit. Like, that's just what happens, right? It's just like jumping in a pool. You get wet. And so I had avoided that side forever. I didn't want anything to do with it. I had completely blocked it out. But now as I was opening the doors, to that aspect, it enhanced everything in my life became more vibrant and made more sense. And I had a place to go. I could go to my Bible and look for answers. So
did that come first, Glenn, before your success? Because you're lying on the beach, you're homeless, you're hopeless, and now you get this aha moment, and now you find your Christianity, your faith first. Then, because you are a superstar in the car industry, never mind the speaking industry, the coaching industry, and the businesses and the companies you have now launched since the pandemic. So it's all this great success. So tell me how they go, because a lot of people watching have faith. Okay, Lord, do this for me. What do I need to do? So what was that first action step to go into what you're doing with the car dealerships and changing your life and your finances?
Yeah. So it's funny that you said, hey, okay, Lord, do this for me, and having faith, right? I in my studies, as I was studying not just spirituality, I was also studying John Maxwell in leadership, Eric Thomas, motivational speaker, Les Brown, Jim Rohn,
saying all the right people,
Tony Robbins. I started Napoleon Hill. Like, I started studying all of these successful people in the self-development world, and then also started studying, successful athletes, successful actors and actresses, just trying to absorb, all of this. How are people using this creative power? And along the road, I came across TD Jakes, and TD Jakes said something really powerful. TD Jakes said, he said, God doesn't make chairs. God doesn't make chairs. He said, God makes trees. It's our job to take the tree and turn it into a chair. And so it's funny when you said, people have faith and say, God, do this for me.
For me. Yeah.
God didn't do that. God will give you the ingredients, right? He'll give you the ingredients. He'll give you the tree, but you've got to go carve that sucker up and turn it into, a chair. You've got to work, right? You got to do the work. And so that was really powerful for me. And along the way, I noticed that a lot of successful people, a lot of the work that they did their work in the mornings, first thing in the mornings, right? Every successful person I've ever studied has had a powerful morning routine. And so I started pulling pieces of people's morning routines and plugging them in myself. And so as I started shifting and changing the way I start my day, it was amazing how much more accomplished, how many more connections, how much more energy, just how much more powerful life became, right? It just became really super vibrant. And so it was a combination of studying spirituality, studying some self-development stuff, asking a lot of questions of myself and other people, and then starting to implement and take a piece from here. Tony Robbins likes to do the cold shower thing. I tried the cold shower thing. I don't like the cold shower thing. It doesn't do it for me. I'm a tropical person. My skin, look, I'm tropical. I don't like cold. So that wasn't for me. And that's okay, right? Mm-hmm. It's okay to go and test and pull. But I ended up putting together my own, 5-step morning routine, and I've applied it in my life. Now I've taught it to millions of people all around the world, and I've been able to make an impact in their life with that routine. And
is it a secret really what it is?
What's that?
Is it a secret what the 5 steps are?
No, actually, it's the morning 5 is what I call it. Five steps to an extraordinary life. And I wrote an ebook on this that anybody can download for free at themorning5.com. But the 5 steps are really simple. I won't go into depth on each, but it's never hit the snooze button.
Like that.
Don't touch your phone first thing in the morning. Write down your gratitude and goals, which sounds like 2 steps, but there's a reason we put those together. Take care of the physical and send out an encouraging message. I do those 5 things every morning. It taps into mind, body, spirit, and it also releases positive energy out into the universe to make an impact on other people's lives.
So you're starting with action instead of reaction every morning.
Right. And not allowing anyone else into my space until I've done the groundwork that I need to do, connecting physically, mentally, and spiritually, so that I can go out into the world and be of service versus being inundated with all that comes with life in today's day and age.
Is that where the motivation for Breakfast with Champions came along? Because your Breakfast with Champions, that I know now you've got Ramon Ray at the helm of it, which is so amazing as well. But you started this Breakfast with Champions 5 a.m. club back during the pandemic, and I've been a part of it now for over 2 years, and it really is life-changing to plug in to positivity. And I come from the background of Mary Kay, and Mary Kay Ash always taught us back in the 90s, on my age is showing, but she always says, join the 5 a.m. club. That's what she preached since 1963. Right. Join the 5 a.m. club. And we all fought at 5 a.m. Oh no. But you're making the point. When you start your day on purpose and in action mode, not reacting to phone calls, emails, all the people that all the things would bombard us, but we start on purpose, giving gratitude with your prayer, with all the things, your body. Mary Kay was saying that, like I said, back in the 60s, if you do that, you will have a different day, a different week, a different month, a different quarter, a different year. It all starts with that morning. And so is that what was one of the catalysts to starting Breakfast with Champions?
Yeah. So prior to Breakfast with Champions, actually in 2018, I started the morning show called #Rise and Grind. And it's motivation, education, inspiration, celebrity interviews, and thought-provoking conversations. And I started that on January 11th of 2018. That show still exists. As a matter of fact, today was our 1200th episode of that show. That's amazing.
We got to applaud that 1200th episode, Rise and Grind. Yes, good job.
Crazy, right? Thank you.
Really good show, too. I hope everybody watch it. I put your website up so they can just connect with you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And so Rise and Grind, God inspired me to create a space, a safe space on the internet. Because at the time, what had happened is a year prior is Colin Kaepernick had taken a knee in an NFL football game during the national anthem, and the United States of America went nuts. And there was so much division, so much hatred, so much violence. So like it really was getting under my skin. And I've learned that if something really bothers you, not just kind of bothers you, but really bothers you, that's God's way of saying, hey, you're called to do something about this.
Ooh, yeah.
But I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I can't change the internet. I can't keep people from being the way that they are. But the response was, you can't change that, but you can create a tiny little space where that doesn't exist. And so I started #Rise and Grind, 5:30 a.m. Monday through Friday. On January 11th, it was actually a Thursday, was the first day that we started. I say we, it was just me. And then
you and God.
Yeah, exactly. And then fast forward, I had done that show for a couple of years. Amazing things had come from that show. speaking opportunities. I started my own business, traveling around the world. Like, it's just incredible. Raising money for Rescue One Global, which is a foundation that battles human sex trafficking. We raised $400,000 for them, like all kinds of crazy things. Built a massive community, and then Clubhouse somehow dropped in my lap, and someone was like, "You got to come check this out." And it was a natural, like, cross line to where I could take my show that was just me, and I could translate it, right? Shift it over into this audio space, still do video on Facebook and YouTube, but take the audio and shift it into Clubhouse, but then build a network of conversation around it. So prior to that, it was just me doing a show, but take it to Clubhouse, it's me doing a show. And then now let's talk about it. And
you've created a movement, Glenn. You really have.
Smokes. It went nuts over on Clubhouse, and
over 104,000 followers just on Clubhouse alone.
Yeah.
But not just followers, Glenn, because I want people to realize you can have 1 million followers on Instagram and Facebook, and they're following. You have a movement, people that are engaged. These people, of all of us, we're family. We got people that we're speaking on it, we're teaching, we're engaging with each other. It is a movement, because it is not stagnant. It is not just a bunch of people that followed you once and that aren't in there daily. And it's absolutely, you've created something so special, Glenn. I want you to just take that moment to say, this was God, because when God does something, he does it big and he creates movements. And that's wherever you take Breakfast of Champions and Rise and Grind, you have created this amazing movement. Just like the tide pushed you back in, Glenn. This is a tide that's pushing people forward together like nothing I've ever seen before. And I've seen a lot. It is an amazing place to be a part of, with amazing people that are like-minded in all different levels of life and faith and business, all coming together. I got you. I can help you with that. Let me teach you this. I love that. Can you teach me more? And it's all on there for free. And it's a movement of people. Like, you created this, Glenn. It's absolutely like mind-boggling what you've done.
Oh, well, thank you. You know, it's been spirit-led, that's for sure. And I try to just listen. I try to listen as God guides, right? And when he inspired me to do the first show, I had no idea where it was going to go. And fast forward to this day, I write every show the morning of, right before the show. And I do 5 days a week. And every time I write the words "good morning," I say, "Hey, God, what message do you want to deliver through me today?" And he gives me the message. And I told my wife, I said, the day that I say, "Hey, God, what message do you want to deliver through me?" and nothing pops into my head, I'll know that that's when we stop, right? I'll know that that's when we stop. But that hasn't happened yet. So
oh my gosh. And where do people find you? I know I find you on Clubhouse, but if people are saying, I know you also do this video, you're on YouTube, where's the best place for people to have Rise and Grind every morning? Because you're still there. God's still giving you these ideas.
Yeah, no doubt. If you go, the best thing to do is just go to glennlundy.com, because that links to all my stuff. So
perfect.
The show is live on YouTube, Clubhouse, and Facebook at 5:30 a.m. Eastern if you want to catch it live. But then there's replays of it.
Right.
You know, everywhere.
We have to talk about a network that I have. Maybe I'll put your show in the limelight.
There you go.
Apple TV and Roku, all the places. But
I like that.
Yeah, I put your website up here. Also, two other things, Glenn. I'm noticing you've got an amazing, not small, but very large tattoo on your right arm.
Yes.
And I know again, the viewers, listeners are seeing you've gone from, the hopelessness to hearing God's voice to now moving into these movements. And you're faithful. You listen to that voice in your head. You take action. You live every moment, every morning on purpose. And you have good days and bad days like everybody else. But you've got something very special tattooed on your arm that is a band of honor that you have really broken records in the car industry as well. How did that play into your life of breaking records, turning your small hometown car dealership in Kentucky into a groundbreaking sales machine? And now you teach others. And I do love, Glenn, the way that when you accomplish something, you turn around, you help others do it too. You're so unselfish that way. So talk to us a little bit about that 800% club on your arm.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, and it's actually really selfish. It's really selfish.
Tell us.
People feel like it's unselfish, but like here
At least you're
I'm going to
honest.
premise this with this. In my 20s, I thought I knew everything. In my 30s, I realized I know some things, and now I'm in my 40s and I realize I know nothing, right? But when I teach that which I have learned, it makes me better at it, right? Like, to learn something, to receive something's one thing, but if you know you have to teach it, now you're like taking extra notes, right? You're digging in deep. And so my community that I've been blessed with, the community really, on a selfish way, like, they make me better by me teaching. So I just kind of want to like clarify that sometimes, because I think it's okay to do things that positively impact others and gain from it at the same time. I think we sometimes in culture, we're told that we have to sacrifice everything on our side for the benefit of others. And I'm not saying there's certain sacrifices that don't need to be made, right? Thank goodness for Jesus' sacrifice on the cross for us. But
I don't think it's selfish, Glenn. I think it's self-improvement. So you're just taking the self-improvement to another level, because we realize we all need each other. And by you sharing with others, it does self-improve you. And that's not selfish. It's like totally self-care.
But I just don't want people to think like, that I'm completely selfless. I'm like,
martyr,
I just give and give and give. I'm like, no, man, I get a lot out of this. Like, I love it, man. I love it. But no, the auto thing, I moved to Kentucky. I met my wife, and let me back up a little bit. Actually, I had an ex-girlfriend. I had a daughter when I was 20 years old, and I lost custody of her when she was 6, and I didn't see her for 8 years. And, until she was 14 years old. But fast forward, I met my wife, and my wife got pregnant. And when my wife got pregnant, I immediately was like, I'm not, it was a decade in between. I'm like, I'm not going through that again. Losing custody of my daughter was the worst thing ever. And so my wife and I moved to her hometown of Paris, Kentucky, tiny little town, population 9,600 people. We moved there to be close to her mom. And that's when I went in and took a job at a car dealership in this tiny little town. And when I decided to do that, I had been in automotive before, but I got out because automotive was not good for me. I was good at it, but it wasn't good for me. And so I made a decision when I went back in. I said, I'm not going to let the industry impact me. I'm going to make an impact on the industry. And we sat down and we wrote down everything that people hate about buying a car, everything that people hate about working at a car dealership, right? We wrote down all those things, and I just made a decision. I said, I'm going to do the exact opposite of everything on this list. And luckily for me, the owner of the dealership, he became an incredible mentor of mine, a best friend of mine. He was a very wise guy, just an incredible dude. And he and I together were able to attack this industry from a whole new angle that no one had attacked it from before. And in doing so, we grew the dealership 800% in 6 years, going from just a tiny little dealership in the middle of nowhere to the second largest used car franchise dealership in the United States of America.
That's huge.
Which is incredible. So we grew 800%. And when I left there, I ended up leaving there in October of 18, which 8s are my number, by the way. I have 8 kids. Kobe Bryant was number 8. He was always my guy growing up. The October 18th, right? 8, lots of 8s, 800% growth. So it's always been my number. But when I left there, I spent a year kind of bouncing around trying to figure out what God's plan was for me. And I landed on doing consulting and training in the automotive space. So I've built my own company now, and we call it the 800% Elite Automotive Club. But what's crazy is in the midst of all that, growing 800% Elite Automotive Club is 800% has become a lifestyle brand more than an automotive brand. It's
Yeah.
living life at 800%. People say, well, what does that mean? Well, there's 8 different pillars of life, right? There's your faith, your fitness, your family, your finances, your friends, your career, yourself, and then your education, right? And so I look at the generation that came before us and I say that generation gave 100%. They gave 100% at work, right? They gave 100% of that. They spent 45 years working for some company, right? And now most of them are still having to work at Walmart for extra money as a greeter, or even if they are retired, they're on a budget, right? And I'm like, okay, apparently 100% doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Divorce rates at 50%, so on and so forth. So I'm like, I believe we should be living 100% in our faith, 100% in our relationships, 100% in our finances, 100% at work, 100% in fitness, 100% in education, 100% when it comes to mental health and confidence, 100% with our friends, right? And that's an 800% lifestyle. And so recently I got the tattoo, probably 6 months ago or
800%.
so. I got the 800%, and I got it right here on my right arm, on my right forearm, right on the inside, so that when I shake somebody's hand, they see 800%. Or when I'm speaking on a stage, they see 800%. And people say, what is 800%? And I look them in the eye and I said, it's the reality that you can have it all.
That sounds so too good to be true, Glenn. When people are thinking 100% faith, 100% faith, they would love it. Everybody that I know that just listened to you is thinking, I would love that. What's one tip to make that happen? Because that sounds so too good to be true, but we know it's not. So what is one tip you can give us to be able to do that 100% and change the next generation?
Yeah.
From what you just said, having to still work and live on a budget to having it all.
Yeah, it comes down to 2 very, 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 well, 3. 1, you got to tap into source, right? You got to have a relationship with God. You can't be 800% without faith. It doesn't work, right? So we can start there. But 2, change your vocabulary. I'm going to change one word in your vocabulary that will completely change your life. All right. Change one word in your vocabulary. Change the word spend to invest. Okay. Now, here's how this works, right? People say they're going to spend, people will say, I'm going to invest in the stock market. What do you expect when you invest in the stock market?
A good return.
Great.
Make money.
People say, I'm going to invest in my business. What do you expect when you invest in your business?
Profitability, growth.
A good return, right? People say, I'm going to invest in my education. What do you expect when you invest in your education?
Yeah, good stuff. You're investing in yourself. You're going to get knowledge.
Right. Now, I hear people say this all the time. I'm going to invest in the stock market. I'm going to invest in my business. I'm going to invest in my education. And then they say, I'm going to spend time with my kids.
Ooh.
I'm going to spend time with my spouse. I'm going to spend time on vacation. I'm going to spend time at, watching TV. I'm going to spend time on social media, right? When we spend, what do you expect?
You're gonna lose something.
Negative, right? If I spend $5, I got $5 less. If I invest $5, I'm trying to get $5 more, right? So people, if you change the word and you say, I'm gonna invest time with my kids, I'm gonna invest time with my spouse, I'm gonna invest time watching TV, I'm gonna invest time on social media. Now you have an expectation of a return. So you go into it different. I have 8 kids. People are like, dude, how do you manage all that? You got 8 kids.
And you spend time with all of them. So
right. And that's the thing is each kid requires a different investment of time to get a result. My daughter, Willow, if I invest 5 minutes of just like non-distracted, straight up one-on-one, looking her in the eye time, that's all she wants with dad. She doesn't even want to spend any more time with dad. She just wants to feel seen, heard, and significant. And then she's off doing whatever it is she's doing. Now, my son requires a different investment. My son likes to fish. He likes to play soccer with dad. He likes to ride in the truck with dad, right? So in order to get a return from my son, it does take more time than it does with Willow. But as long as I go into it all with as an investment, expecting a return, right? I'm looking for the return. As long as I do that, we find we have way more time. I can invest a couple hours into my business, right? Whereas I used to spend 50 hours a week on my business, I can invest 20 hours a week on my business and get a massive return, right? I can invest time into my spirituality. I can invest in my fitness. Don't go spend time at the gym, invest time at the gym. Get a return from it. You'll find it doesn't take as long, right?
You just changed the game with one word.
One word, that's it.
Totally one word.
Don't ever spend any time on social media. Invest time on social media. That means comment on other people's stuff, create content that's worthy, that's gonna get a return, right? Don't just go spend time flipping through TikTok. No, invest time. Use the tool. I'm not saying don't use the tool. I'm saying don't spend, invest. So that's the second one. And then the third one, the third piece, right? Know God, invest, don't spend. And then the third piece is inspect what you expect. So every week I audit all 8 areas of my life on a scale of 1 to 10. On a scale of 1 to 10, where am I at in my faith? On a scale of 1 to 10, where am I at in my finances? On a scale of 1 to 10, where am I at in my fitness, right? How did I do this last week? Am I getting a return from each of these areas? And if I really look at it and I'm honest, right? And I say, oh, my relationship with my spouse was like a 6 this week. It was kind of flat. There was nothing really exciting. We're not yelling at each other, but at the same time, there was no real spark there, right? If I look at that, I go, okay, well, did I invest the time, effort, and energy required to get a return from my wife? I know for a fact that if I lay in bed with my wife for a half hour and watch Everybody Loves Raymond, Big Bang Theory, Friends, or King of Queens, if I watch one of those shows with her every night before we go to bed, I'll get a good return. She like that's her
her love language.
Yeah, that's her love language, right? And so you have to inspect it and be honest and audit each of those 8 pillars every week. And whatever one you're low in, say, okay, how can I invest some time, energy into this to get that back up? When you do that, you'll start to realize that you can have it all. You can. Each area is going to require a different investment, and God would not have given it to you if you weren't capable of maxing it out and really living in this purposeful space in all 8 of those areas.
You know, you say something I have said for years that I'm so glad you're saying it, and it's inspect what you expect. We've been saying that for so long, and you just took it to a whole nother level as well, because saying it after you said don't spend but invest. I mean, it just plays so perfectly in line. So with all that said, you said I'm going to put your website back up, GlennLundy.com. It's very simple. Glenn, 2 N's, Lundy, LUNDY.com. Did you say you have a book on this? Because this is good stuff. And also, if people are listening and watching and they want more Glenn Lundy, you say you have a company now. How much do you invest in other people? Like, do people hire you now as a coach? Is it books? Is it just watch your show? Talk to us a little bit as we're kind of winding down now and running out a little bit of a time frame here. How can they plug in to Glenn Lundy to get more of this?
Yeah, again, best thing, GlennLundy.com. You can also go to themorning5.com. That's themorning5.com. Go ahead and download the ebook, and that will start you off with some morning routine stuff. As far as hiring me, people in the automotive space, I work with owners of car dealerships, finance people, salespeople, middle management, so on and so forth. We are going to be expanding outside of automotive in the future. Right now, we're really building a solid foundation, a base in the automotive space. But of course, online, the show, it's free. Yeah, come find me. Let's hang out. Let's get to know each other. Invest some time. I'll make sure you get a return.
Yeah, do you love, is the car industry your passion now? Because you flipped it on its head. You took everything that you don't like about it. And I want to ask you, what was that one thing you really did not like about it when you said it wasn't for you back the first time and you didn't really want to do it the second time, but you did anyway, but then you changed the game?
Yeah,
what was it that you didn't like about it? Because I know as a woman, what I don't like about buying a used car is almost everything. But you said you've changed that. So what was it for you that you didn't like in the beginning?
Yeah, that was weird. My screen just went out. So it really was, it's again, flipping. Like, I'm a real simple guy, right? Like, let's change the word spend to invest, and it changes everything.
It does.
So what we did is we just flipped the model upside down. So typical business model is I want to make money, right? I want to make money. And so I have a product that I want to sell to make money. I go out, I start selling that product, and I make money. Then I realize, well, if I had more customers, I could make more. I could make more money, right? So I go out and get more customers, and when I get more customers, I sell more product, I make more money. And then at some point, you go, well, if I had some employees, then my employees could work with more customers than I can, and I can make more money, right? And that's a typical business model. So it's money, customer, employee is basically the priorities of most business owners. And that was very true in the automotive industry. And so the employees were last on the list of priorities. Money first, customer second, employees third. I look at that and I say, wait a minute, we spend a couple hours a month with a customer, or a couple hours a year with a customer that's buying a car, but we spend 12 hours a day with our employees. So who deserves to be a priority, the customer or the employee? And so we flipped it upside down and we said, you know what, we're going to be employee first. The whole customer is always right. BS, not true. My well-trained, dedicated, loyal employees, they're always right. And they're innocent until proven guilty, period. Because I know customers lie, cheat, steal just as much as anybody else can, right?
They want a deal.
Yeah. So employees first. And if you take care of your employees will take care of your customers. And when you have employees that take care of your customers, you'll make all the money you can possibly imagine. You don't even have to worry about that part. So we just flipped it upside down. Instead of money, customer, employee, we went employee, customer, and the money came. And by putting our people first, we were able to expand and grow in ways nobody had ever seen before.
That's amazing. Nobody's ever done that before. Again, I come from the Mary Kay world. Mary Kay always put us first and always, gave us more. And she realized there was so much to give. You can't outgive God, she always said.
Right.
And she said the better you treat your salespeople, the more everything will grow. And when the economy went down in the 80s, she gave them more. I don't do it anymore, but it changed my life, meeting Mary Cash, being a part of that company for 20 years, because I learned just what you're saying, Glenn. It's all about do more for your employees, your people, your sales force, and they'll take care of the rest. They'll be happy. They'll want to share, all the time. They get paid well. So when the going gets tough, they don't quit because they care. And she goes, everybody wears an invisible sign that says, make me feel special. And she was so right. Make me feel special. You make your employees feel special. They'll make the customers feel special. And then we'll go and we will tell the world about the way we were treated at those car dealerships. And that'll make all the difference in the world.
All the difference in the world. Hey, Glenn, I got to get out of here. I got another.
All right.
I've had such a great time with you. Thank you so much for this.
Such a wonderful time. Thank you, Glenn, so much for being here. We appreciate you. And until next time, this is Aurea signing out from Get Celebritized. Thank you, Glenn Lundy. See you next time.
All right.
Bye for now.